Good morning, YouTube. Today I want to go over a basic timeline of this 458 Iturdia's history.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan and this is my garage, and this is the 458 Iturdia. And yes, this is the car that Hoovy owned, and what's more fascinating about that is actually I think 5 people who have owned this car. Let's talk about this whole story and how it got here and how it got in such bad condition, but actually it's kind of remarkable. It runs really well. So what would make it run really well and yet be in cosmetically terrible conditions? So please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We do appreciate that. And of course, you can buy parts and services through our website, normalguysupercar.com. All right, let's talk about this thing. So I guess I'm going to start off with, we published a few videos and we were cracking jokes about the car, and I think people may have taken our joking the wrong way. So let's bring some context to this story. I think that's going to make you guys understand where we were coming from, and also I want to make it very, very clear, we in no way were trying to insult or make fun of Hoovy, or especially the car wizard and the work that he did on this car, because frankly, if he hadn't worked on this car, I don't think it would be driving, and I just drove it over 2,000 miles and it had absolutely zero issues. That is a testament to what those guys did. They actually got this car running properly. In the Ferrari world, you have a benchmark. You have very clean, super well taken care of cars. You know, their bar is way up here. And this car was a rental. It got an off-road excursion where it got totaled. It was put together literally in a guy's driveway. Yeah, it's so far removed from that high level. Okay, so let's start from where we at least kind of know. I've heard from one of the previous owners that I know that this car was owned by Rob Freddy's rental company. So if you know Rob Freddy's YouTube channel, Super Speeders Rob, he has a rental car company in New York, and apparently that was where this car was owned for quite a while. So unfortunately, I don't know that 100%. I believe that to be true. Where we pick up, where we have some more concrete stuff, is the car got totaled. So at some point, someone drove this car and apparently it went off the road and ripped off the front of the bumper, like the front bumper, some fender damage, the rear bumper, side skirts, and a lot of undercarriage damage. So it clearly, I don't know if it like hit some rocks or like a curb or whatever. It bent some of the under panels, it bent that one subframe, a bunch of other stuff. So there's pretty substantial damage, enough that it was totaled by the insurance company. At that point, it was actually bought by Fur Parts. So Fur Parts actually reached out to me and was like, hey, you bought our former car. They have videos they sent me of when that car arrived, and it was rough. It was in bad shape. They literally had to drag it with a forklift.
Time to fork in the game.
To move it around. So it wasn't driving, it was completely inoperable. That's where at least I have concrete information. So that's the first owner I'm aware of that I have concrete information. And after that, interesting enough, a guy I know in California who I've actually met in person, talked many times over the years, and he bought it from Fur Parts as a salvage car, and I believe he paid something like $75,000. It was that bad. So some of the stuff that he did to it, so he, in his driveway, had to weld back on some structural stuff on the front of the car to get new fender, or the fenders to sit correctly. Apparently he put on a challenge front bumper, which is why it looks a little bit different and doesn't have the pedestal. That's what he told me anyway. Obviously had to do some stuff on the back. Now obviously if you're doing this in your driveway without the proper measuring tools and whatever, it's not going to be perfect, and I don't think that was ever his goal. His goal was to have a driving ultra cheap 458, which was accomplished. He even literally spray painted the front bumper in his garage. So he was even joking about it. He's joking that, hey, I literally put this thing together in my driveway and in my garage. It was not meant to be perfect. He actually sells it to another guy that I know who happens to live in Las Vegas. And that guy had it for a while. He drove it around. And that's the thing, is they at least got it back to driving. Oh, and actually, a little interesting tidbit. The car shifts really well. It's because the transmission is out of a salvaged Ferrari California that had only like 7,000 or 8,000 miles on it. So the transmission has like, I guess it would have now about 12,000 miles or so on it, maybe a little bit more than that. So that's why the transmission's in fantastic condition, which is awesome. He's the one who sells it to Hoovie. And then, of course, you know the story where Hoovie buys it. He picks it up in Vegas, sends it over to the car wizard, and there's a substantial amount of things wrong with it that the wizard fixes. At that point, Hoovie spends money on it, has the car wizard fix a bunch of mechanical issues, basically makes it so that this thing is drivable, because the issues that were there, some of them are substantial. Obviously, like the subframe was not straightened correctly. Hoovie's goal was make it so it's drivable, don't make it perfect. They never meant to make this car perfect. There's no way anyone's going to make this car perfect. It was totaled. It was ruined. So what you can do is make it a drivable, fun car. That was their goal, and that's what they did. So Hoovie gets the car running. He puts 2,000 plus miles on it, has some fun with it, takes it to the track, all that sort of stuff. Enjoys the car, and really does what this car is now meant to do, which is be a driver's car. So while we were in Monterey for Car Week, we ran into Hoovie. He test drove my 599. He obviously, we have an arrangement where he wants to convert his 599 into a manual. So he said, hey, how about we work something out where I can hook him up with the manual on his 599 and he will sell us this. So we bought this from Hoovie, and we're also helping him out with a conversion on his 599. So when we take possession of it, our position was, hey, you know, we usually are dealing with perfect cars, or we're trying to achieve perfection, or at least be near it. And especially because we're a dealership, we have to have cars that are generally, you know, people are nitpicking their cars, they're doing PPIs on our cars. People have backed out of deals because cars have insignificant little flaws. So we're used to that. We get a car that was totaled, put together in a driveway, but returned to good driving condition, which we all have admitted, this thing drives amazing, which is a shocker and a testament to the engineering that went into the car. We kind of teased on the cosmetics of the car. We didn't tease on who did it. We understand, like even Hoovie said, the car was put together by apes. The guy who put it together thinks that's funny. I mean, you know, it's just, the car is what it is. It is never going to be a nice prime example. We never meant to tease anyone who has owned it or badmouth anyone. It's just, it is what it is. It is a salvaged, wrecked car with 90,000+ miles on it that drives really well. It is the cheapest driving 458 ever, as far as we know, which is awesome. But you're paying less than half, if even that, of a clean, perfect example. So of course it's going to have all these flaws. We just want to know, what are these flaws? Because yeah, you can see things wrong with it in Hoovie's videos. Like, we knew it was going to be a piece of crap. Hoovie knew it's a piece of crap. Everyone was on the same page. This car is a piece of crap. What we didn't know are the details, because you can't see the details until you actually see it in person. So I had no idea that there was waves in the bottom floor panels, and there's gouges where things that you just don't see those in the videos until you see it in person. And you're like, holy crap, that's way more damage happened to this car than we expected. That's what we were doing, is trying to figure out those things. Any car we buy, the first thing we do is assess the car. I just bought a car tonight. I drove it home and immediately assessed things wrong with that car. It is a super low mile, almost brand new McLaren, and it has crap wrong with it. I needed to know those things because in order for me to sell that car, I have to be aware of what's wrong with it. That's what we do on this channel. We look at every car and find the flaws because it's important. Not because we're trying to say, oh, so-and-so is a bad person, they didn't take care of the car. It's not true. Like, I understand that people have budget restrictions. They might make choices that aren't necessarily the best for the maintenance or whatever. That's just the reality of life. These cars are extraordinarily expensive. People make decisions that are budget conscious on these cars. Even though these are expensive cars, people still penny pinch all the time. We see it constantly. So it's not unusual or bad even. People have different degrees of expectations for what they want out of these cars. Some people want absolute perfection, and they can get that. and other people are fine with the cheapest of the cheap still driving. And that is also completely acceptable. As all of us have said, this is the car in many ways you actually want, because you have, it's like freedom. You don't care that it looks terrible, that it might get a scratch, that it might get a door ding. There you go. That's kind of where we're at today. Obviously, now we have possession of this thing. We want to do a few things to it just to kind of clean up some stuff, make it look what we think would be more appropriate for it, maybe fix like some stuff like the interior. Again, these are just cosmetic things for the most part. Mechanically, there's not really much we have to fix. So at the moment, mechanically, the only things that we know aren't working is the AC, and it's got a couple of check engine lights that come and go. So we want to try and resolve some of those things. We can sort those out and get it so that this car is really, really solid on the driving portion of it. Cosmetically, there's not a whole lot to do to it. You know, maybe get the alignment of some of the panels a little better, especially the rear. I suspect that there is actually some damage from the accident preventing the bumper from being aligned correctly. So we're gonna pull off the bumper and take a look, because if that's true, then that's stuff that obviously is from the accident. This is all predating Hoovie. And again, that's the thing. All the things we're pointing out predate Hoovie and the Car Wizard. They only made it better. We didn't mean to offend people. That was never our goal. We are very sorry if any of you were offended or took it the wrong way. So as I said at the beginning, the really cool thing about this car is it's mechanically sound enough. I drove it 2,000 miles. I mean, it's still got all the bug splatters on it. Oh, I want to point out, this is why you get a PPF. Right there is a tire mark. Always put a PPF in your car. That would have been paint damage without a PPF. So very important. It made it 2,000 miles, no problem. It even got decent gas mileage. I drove it 1,000 miles each way, and I only had to fill up 3 times. So it's getting over 300 miles per tank. Yeah, it was comfortable. I mean, there's some stuff that's not working. The radio doesn't work. The AC doesn't work, which that actually kind of sucked going into Phoenix when you're hot and there's no AC. So I'm running with the windows down, and it drives well, and it shifts great, and it's fun. Please like, share, and subscribe. We do appreciate it. We didn't mean to piss off anyone. We're sorry if we did. That's never the goal. We don't ever really try and piss anyone off. That's just not how we roll. People are gonna be mad at us on something on this video, so put in the comments below. But that's gonna do it for this video. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. We're gonna be doing a lot of cool car stuff, so you're gonna want to stay tuned. It's gonna be sweet.